sick tonight. We'll get that into my place. So welcome. Thank you for being here. We've got a few things on here. I'm just going to start going down the list. I wasn't prepared to run the meeting, so bear with me. Minutes. Colleen, you want to table that? Is that right? Yes. So we'll table the minutes. Chairperson's report. Like I said, I don't have anything planned, but I'll just report sort of as a parent. I think this year I'm a parent of a Fowler student, a fourth grader, and I just couldn't be more pleased with how the year is starting off at Fowler. I've heard that from parents, students, staff, administration. It seems like this building is really, despite being shorthanded with Mrs. Gaudette pitching in, there's a lot of good vibes, to steal your phrase, coming out of this building. I've heard very similar things from the high school, and I haven't heard as much from Green Meadow, but that doesn't mean anything. So I know it's been a very, very busy first
It has, yeah.
5 days with students, 6 days with students. And I know that we've had a very aggressive rollout with the new Tyler system, the new lunch company, and also the new website, which I know that everyone is still working hard on. So it's been, I think the communication overall, just from my perspective, is improving. Looking to see that continue, but given everything that's going on and how much has changed, the changes in the schedules especially should not be overlooked, because I know that that is still being worked out at Fowler, and I'm not sure about the other two buildings. But all is well, and I've had a lot of compliments thrown the school's way, so thank you for that, and for everyone who's contributed to a smooth start to the year, or a smoother start to the year. So with that, I will turn it over to the superintendent's report. Dr. Girardi?
Sure. So one exciting thing is the Fowler Fun Run's coming up next week as a fundraiser to help the Fowler School offset expenses for field trips and other student activities. And as part of the Fun Run experience, the company sends representatives the week before to talk to students during lunch and get them excited about the event. They also have a message in there when they talk to them around character, including citizenship, teamwork, integrity, growth mindset, and zest. So it's a nice added message for our students, especially at Fowler, because we really wanted to improve those things, so I thought you'd be pleased to hear it. And I want to thank School Committee Member Hogan. She happened to be here, so she and I went to the lunchroom, and we got to see Principal Costello, Jazzy Jasmine, and Karate Caitlin deliver that message to the students. And so thank you for coming, because it's always fun to see the kids excited and to see us doing these kind of programs that are innovative. So that was great. And then also just Chairman Hem wanted me to mention that even though we have Stephen here to talk about the one-to-one rollout, that maybe we could do like a morning coffee next week and or an afternoon coffee. So I'm going to be putting that out in my news that we're probably going to do, I think, Wednesday morning. Is that correct, Stephen? And Thursday afternoon. So if people don't get this message, they can come and they can talk to them about anything technology related. So that's another thing, events that we're having for parents to try and smooth in some of these newer initiatives.
Are you thinking like one meeting?
Like 7 to 8 in the
Parents meet
morning,
building?
if people want to come in for a coffee on a Wednesday morning, and then one in the afternoon. And tonight we're going to hear a little bit about it tonight too, so that way we kind of cover all our bases.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
I just want to be cognizant of Stephen's time, because I just know how much
Yeah,
most of our
yeah,
staff is.
he's still working on the website, and we're working on all these things to make sure that, there's always going to be changes,
Yeah.
there's always going to be some glitches that you're fixing, but we did want to provide opportunities to have coffees on a lot of different agenda items. This one happens to be technology, and Chairman Hem mentioned it to me, so I thought I'd share that.
Do we think, does the afternoon make sense, or should it be later for parents that are working?
Well, I
Yeah.
figure tonight people can, people were
Okay.
here,
Well, I
right?
guess
It was a posted
it'll be-
agenda for
it'll be
night, and it'll be on the
televised.
televised.
Okay.
And then, but I think afternoon for some parents, because they're picking
Yeah.
up kiddos, that's actually a different range time for parents as well,
It'd
so
be interesting to see how many parents we
bring in.
have, and then see if maybe another one at night or something needs to be done.
Yeah, and we've actually talked about having other coffees with administrators, like a special ed coffee. I know, Ms. Hogan, we talked about that too, so that way, anybody who wants to just come and talk to the Director of Student Services can talk about issues,
That's
so.
great.
That sounds good.
Yeah, we're trying to improve communication in a lot of different ways, and that's my report.
Next up is the student representative report, so I'd like to welcome AJ and Pat up to the microphone. And welcome.
Hey, long time no see. So, school year's now officially in motion. You know, all the students now have settled in. I know last week we were a little,
Overwhelmed?
may have seemed a little spaced out just because it's like first 2 days and all this is coming at us at once. But now that 5 days, we're kind of more settled in now. I know WABM Pat sent out the welcome email to all the new and current members, so we're officially open for business. And we're going to begin training for new members on our equipment and start to open it up. Pat?
Yeah, everything is starting to happen. Sports have started. I know cross country meet was today. The girls' one was canceled though, so I know the boys finished. And they're not sure if it was invalidated because of the rain, because it like canceled halfway through. But hopefully they'll keep it. They won, so hopefully they'll keep it. Other than that, all the clubs are starting. Update on the lunch from last week. I have a bit more information. The biggest complaint, see, the quality is the same. That's what I've heard. It's like, that's the same, but the variety is different. So the sandwich, the like made to order sandwiches is no longer a thing, and people are very angry about that. And I've heard people being like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna buy lunch anymore. So it might affect.
We can relay that, we'll relay that information.
That is good
Yeah.
information.
Yeah, and other than that, it's very cold all the time in the school, 24/7. I've worn my sweatshirt all day, but it's kind of a culture of the high school now. Everyone knows that it's cold all the time, so it's not something to complain about. But
You can't rub that into your younger siblings.
Yeah,
I know.
it's hot in the other buildings.
Yeah, walking around the high school is a lot cooler. I know the AC usually stays turned on until a little, like, I'm not sure exactly, but a little bit into the beginning of the year. But then I walk outside and it's like blistering hot, and I was
Yeah.
just like, one of the other concerns I've heard, I know with the updates to the Tyler system, obviously students in the high school at least haven't had access to view their grades. I know teachers have been able to put in their grades, but one of the concerns is just, to use myself as an example, I'm one of those people who usually checks my grades every day just to
Good.
see like if there's any updates. And that kind of not being an option right now is somewhat, it's just a little bit of a fear built up just because I'm not sure if I'm doing well in my classes. Rest assured, I do still receive my grades back on paper, so I can add it up that way. But that's just something I've been floating around, and more so, we don't know when we're going to be able to view them. And I know a lot of, at least people in my grade, starting to apply to colleges, the first quarter grades matter when putting that into your application, because some colleges request those upon even early access. So that's one of the bigger things I've heard around my
Do you
grade.
think we can get an ETA to the students especially?
We
Within
can
the
look
next
into
day
it
or
for
so?
sure,
Like an ETA of when we're expecting it, I think that's fair.
for students, sure. Colleen Andrade's been taking care of that, so I could check in with her tomorrow.
I don't
Yeah.
expect that person to be here.
Yeah.
But if you could,
Sure,
and then give it to the students so they
yep,
have the reassurance.
absolutely.
Yeah, not saying,
I know they're concerned, and they want to make sure they get everything right for the college application
Yeah,
process.
that's-
Like, that was
that
one of the
makes
major
total sense.
considerations, and a major concern was getting GPAs correct and those sort of things. There's a lot to your data.
Yeah.
So it's important to get it right, and they want to get it right for you. So they're concerned for your college applications.
yeah,
so-
most of the students, they aren't in a particular rush. Obviously, if they wanted to know their grade, they can always go ask
Yeah.
their teacher
Yeah,
and recalculate it out that way. They just want to know when they're going to be able to view their grades themselves, because I know even like kids in my grade, grades kind of take like, in terms of importance, it kind of goes down a little bit, at least farther into the year, because usually you get accepted to a college at that point, and while your grade still matters, it doesn't matter as much to seniors say. Sorry to
You're
give
not
that
as
kind of,
worried.
the
You're not as
senioritis kind of kicks in by then. But I know for kids in Pat's grade, junior year, that's the big one. You want to be keeping your grades
Yeah.
as high as possible, because that's the most important year for your grades. I'd imagine that'd be a little more of a concern for you guys,
Yeah.
not being able to view them. But an ETA would, I think, help a lot of the students because most of the response from teachers is, I don't know. So that's just the bigger thing.
That's great feedback, thank you.
That's really helpful.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's it.
I think that covers it all up. WAVM is kind of setting in motion right now. We got our assignments like tonight. We actually filmed our first sports event yesterday, field hockey. We have another one tomorrow. We have our first football broadcast on Saturday. So all our assignments are flowing in now for sports games, school committee, things like that. Again, NHS, we just had our first meeting yesterday to discuss what our plans are for this year. So you're going to be hearing more things about, we're going to be organizing the student-teacher conferences. I know homecoming's going to be in a few months. And we'll have more plans on that. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Can I ask a WAVM question?
Yes.
Do you remember offhand when the opportunities to do AVM type activities started in sixth grade? Like, is it second half? Is it, I've had parents ask me and I said I'd try to find out.
I don't think you have to be like halfway through sixth grade. I think it's
Yeah.
just right.
Well,
sixth
right
grade.
when you join sixth grade, everything begins at the start of the year. So
Okay.
like we had one of Michael Waldron, one of the teachers out there. He has a son who's in sixth grade who actually was up today. I actually trained him in the radio booth. So if sixth graders want to join, they can start as early as the beginning of the year.
Oh, great.
It's just a matter of getting them trained with like radio shows. It may be a little bit of a, I'm going to use the word tricky to try to slip them into the schedule, but we always have our streaming shows that are historically almost always left open. But yeah, we're always looking for more help. I know, especially since after my grade leaves, it's going to be kind of a big gap, as Pat knows. But we're always looking for more. But yeah, it starts as early as the beginning of the year.
Awesome, thank you.
So there's not as many students coming up that are doing WAVM, is that what you're saying?
Well, we had a large senior class this past year,
Okay.
and so when they leave, like if we don't get as many freshmen as the leaving seniors, then there's a gap. So right now we have very little sophomores, but we had a large interest in the current freshmen. So we're filling the gap there, but there's a gap in the sophomore year specifically.
Yeah, the sophomore, I really cannot name a single sophomore who I think was a manager. So that's a bigger concern for the future. Like right now we're fine, but after my grade leaves, that leaves a huge gap at the top just because last year there was 5 of us who weren't graduating at the top, and this year there's only 3. Usually there's 4 CEOs, so trying to fill that gap of 13 is going to be somewhat of a challenge just with lacking participation sophomore year. It's not like we can't force them to come up, but that's why we're always looking for more. That's why we're kind of looking towards the freshmen. We know some of the freshmen had older siblings who were in WAVM, so we're trying to get them. We're trying to get their friends. We're just trying to get as many people as possible and try to get them into it so we can have them for the future to be possibly the leaders of WAVM once even Pat's grade graduates.
Do you think it's the draw from the sports, or? Because I heard the same thing about sports, that after next year, that
Yeah.
sports is really dropping off and I'm just trying to figure out what's going on.
It's kind of interesting. Usually when there's siblings, and then like a sibling tells their younger sibling, like in 7th grade, 6th grade, 8th grade, to join, and then they join, and then their friends join, and then one of them becomes manager, and then they all become managers. And that's kind of the trend that happens. But if we have a gap in the siblings, then you lose, 10, 15 people.
That was a big thing with the sophomore. And my grade specifically, we're not nearly as highly participating as, say, the grade above us. At least in AVM, that wasn't the case. I know in sports that was a little different. We were, I think, if I were to guess, proportionally, we were like a little more involved in sports than the grade above us. So I think sometimes there's just a gap year. Sometimes students just don't always want to participate in ABM. Sometimes they don't always want to participate in sports. And I think trying to encourage them is good, but at the end of the day, you can't force anybody to do anything. So I think it's just, we'll sit tight, try to make a plan for the future, and see if it works out. That's all we can really say.
Excellent.
I think that's about it, though.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. It was great.
Excellent.
Really helpful stuff.
Yeah,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
Have a good week or two. Right, we're not meeting
Yeah,
next
no,
week,
we're not
right?
meeting
No.
this month.
Every couple weeks.
Usually every other week.
All right, I will turn it over to Mr. Wilson for the technology update. So for anyone who hasn't met Stephen, he is our technology director for the district, and we've been eagerly awaiting his technology update with all the fun stuff going on.
Yeah, all right, so I have a few things to just kind of update you guys on, and then I'll open it up to some questions. I know I've heard a few questions already, and I've answered a few through email, but we'll get to whatever else is left. So over the summer, we did a lot, more so than we have in past summers. We've added a lot of equipment, we've changed a lot of stuff, we've opened some stuff up for the students. So just to kind of start, at Green Meadow, we added 2 more Chromebook carts, we added 1 more iPad cart, and we added 20 iPads to the pre-K program, which originally only had like 4 iPads. We also added computer science at Green Meadow, which is new. So a lot of times, kids don't start computer science until 4th grade in this district. Now they're going to start in kindergarten. So with the one-to-one program expanding, they should have the technology skills more so coming into Fowler, hopefully, which is part of why we're expanding the one-to-one program. At Fowler, obviously, the one-to-one program expanded to 5th grade. We also added engineering class and another computer science here. We also added with our engineering class another Chromebook cart and a 3D printer, which kids will get to use the second half of this school year, which is pretty neat. I know the teacher's pretty excited to use that. At the high school, we didn't add too much because they're still a fairly new school. The one-to-one program is still running there. At WAVM, we added 10 more editing stations with the goal of adding 10 more before the end of this school year, which will completely refresh what they have there. We're also redoing the software they have in WAVM. Some of it's getting added out of date, some of it's not up to industry standards. So we reached out to the people in industry that we consult with, and I kind of asked them what's the best software to be teaching the kids, what should we be doing here. So we're going to better align what they have at WAVM with what the actual stations and industry people are using. So that's all happening. The one-to-one rollout at the high school, it's been going really well. This is the first year we had devices ready day 1. So if kids picked up their paperwork over the summer, or for the freshmen coming in, they got it during their welcome barbecue like 2 weeks before school. So if they came in day 1 with their paperwork, we had a Chromebook or iPad ready for them to go. And the kids have kind of been able to collect their device on their own schedule. So we have times before school starts, during lunch, and after school. So we're not interrupting class time doing this distribution. We're not interrupting the kids, making them come at weird times. It's kind of going pretty seamless. We're about 2/3 to 3/4 distributed already. I suspect some of the seniors aren't going to get their iPads because we didn't have a great rollout with when they were juniors. So most of the devices they're just not required to use them at that point, but the freshmen, sophomore, juniors have been collecting their devices. It's been going really well. At Fowler, we're going to have one-to-one in 8th grade and 5th grade. There was some confusion with what I had sent home was explaining that. What the kids were explained by some teachers were that it was 5 through 8. Somehow that miscommunication happened, but it's 5th grade and 8th grade. Their paperwork is actually due tomorrow. We're prepared to start rolling out as soon as we start getting paperwork in. It's not going to be an all or nothing rollout, so as kids get their paperwork in, we're going to start handing out Chromebooks right away. And that we're doing through their homerooms. So they hand in the paperwork, the next day the device is waiting for them in their homeroom. The 5th grade is the first year we're doing the CYOD program, which is the last time I was here what we talked about, where the students are actually going to have a choice of 3 different devices. the majority seems to be Chromebooks. That's kind of what I expected. That's what we use most in district. That's, in the paperwork that went home, I said if you're unsure, pick a Chromebook. But the iPad's also available. Some kids are picking that. And I've been meeting with both grades regularly to kind of get them ready for the one-to-one rollout so they know what to expect when the kids have the devices, and kind of helping them with software and lesson plans that will let them utilize devices, not just instead of the kids just having it and leaving them in the backpack, actually using them in the classes. Because 5th grade, this is brand new for them. 8th grade's kind of old pros at this point, so they're waiting to get the devices as soon as possible. But 5th grade will be a slower rollout. Part of that one-to-one program as well is we've switched to a self-insurance model. So in the past, we paid a company. So that technology fee we collected went straight to a company. We never saw it. We'd have to ship devices out. They'd ship them back. It was a mess. They weren't quick. They were insurance just for schools. So all the times you'd expect for a lot of insurance claims to come in, they were getting it from every school. So when we needed it the most, was when they were the slowest. So we were going to a self-insurance model. I've been training my staff on how to repair the Chromebooks. We're able to repair batteries, keyboards, screens in-house, things like that. With standardizing the devices we're using, we're able to keep extras on hand and things like that. And the money is going to help us fund the one-to-one program. So if all goes to plan, we'll double the size of the one-to-one program from 5th grade all the way through 12th grade, and it'll cost us the same as what we had before with just 8 through 12, which is pretty good.
That's awesome.
That's exciting.
What else? We also built a new website and a whole new notification system along with that. So beyond what we had before with email and text message and voice, we also have social media that syncs to it. We have a website that syncs to it. The technical rollout of it has been pretty smooth. The biggest thing has just been educating staff and principals and admins on how to use it. Before, we had a very static site, did an update, had links at the start of the year, and that was pretty much it. We're getting our principals and our admins in the habit of posting regularly, rather than using their own blog, posting everything to the news feed. Rather than just sending it to Facebook, make sure it's on the website as well. The idea is to kind of have a top-down communication, so the website's the primary source, it can get pushed out from there, but I don't want a parent to have to check Facebook, check Twitter, check the website, check their email to kind of figure out what's going on. They should be able to pick one and go from there. So that's been a rollout. It's been going pretty well. There wasn't a ton of content on the site to begin because that was the start of school. There wasn't a lot to say, but it's getting better. We've done 2 training sessions already with a couple more planned, so it's going well.
And do you mind if I interrupt?
Yeah,
And
go ahead.
also, we want to encourage people to get the app, because that's connected to the website and the news feeds. And so-
Yeah, so there's an Android and iOS app now that goes along with the website. So instead of you getting, if you don't like getting the text messages or the phone calls and things like that, you can just get a push notification to your phone, same as you would with like Facebook or any of those. It's all a convenience thing based on what your preference are, but yeah, Bob's
That's
got it up. The idea is we have more options for communication, and it's the same communication, not a bunch of different feeds and different things going on. The other part of the website for the communication side is the legality, I guess, of what we're doing. So a big part of this website, of why we're doing everything from the website, is we're supposed to archive everything we do, especially on social media and things like that. So by posting to the website and having that push out to social media, we're able to archive that stuff and comply with like Freedom of Information Act requests and public information archives and things like that. So that was a big push with this website, as well as getting us in proper compliance with all the new laws that are coming out dictating social media and government and all that. And I won't bore you too much with that, but that's the other part of this website of why it's putting us in line. It's not just for the front-facing side of it. It's doing a lot for us on the back end as well. I wanted to mention a few upcoming projects that we have going on over, not necessarily this school year, but coming up on next school year and the school year after. These are big capital-intensive projects that we have coming down. I know you guys had asked about big budget issues coming up, and I've been talking with Michelle about this and how we're going to plan for it. We're expanding the number of projectors that we have in the district, and we need to replace a large number of them, especially in Fowler, because they're aging out. And projector used to kind of be an optional thing for the teacher. It's basically a necessity now. I don't have a single teacher that doesn't want the projector in their classroom. We've been installing them this summer. We've been replacing them, but it's been Band-Aid type stuff. As soon as we have the money, we're going to have to do a bigger push in replacing, 20 to 30 of them in the district.
So,
Projector, I'm sorry.
no, I was going to, because.
Is that
about
like
the
a
budget.
whiteboard smart board, or like, are you meaning old school projectors? Super old school, but somewhat new school.
So we're getting rid of the like touchscreen thing, but it's still interactive. What it is though is it's a regular projector, but it's got kind of like a Chromecast type device to it. So the teachers on their Chromebook or their iPad are interacting with their device and it's showing up on the screen rather than going up to touch the screen. And what it also allows, because the kids will have one-to-one devices, they can share their screen up there. It's not like, let me unplug this and plug you in or sign in on my computer. It's all seamless, which is what we're kind of working towards. So in conjunction with that, with the Digital Learning Committee this year, we're working on setting up a standardized classroom. Right now, our classrooms are all over the map because we've just set up what we did. The high school's in okay shape, but Fowler and Green Meadow is very sporadic. So we're trying to figure out what we want the perfect classroom to look like. So when a teacher moves classrooms or goes somewhere else, they're not relearning the technology in the classroom. They're not trying to figure out how to use everything again. They should be able to go anywhere and kind of just teach. We are due for a server upgrade. We're actually probably due for that already, but we're going to push it off to next year because we're also consolidating a lot. We're removing a lot of the stuff we have. We're moving to the cloud with what we can. But we're due for that next year. Probably 2 servers or 3, most likely 1 for each school, I would say. So that's coming down. We're putting into for capital planning for next year. The Green Meadow network is outdated with how much we've been expanding in terms of how much more technology is there, how much more wireless technology is there. It's very piecemeal right now. We make it work with, extending the network, using network hubs, using like 10-port switches and things like that, kind of scatter it all out. I would love to be able to set it up properly, actually get the wiring running through the walls. I don't know if you've been to Green Meadow, a lot of the wiring is just kind of up in the ceiling. You can see it is exposed. It's not ideal. It works, but that's, anytime anyone mentions about grants and things like that, that's usually what I put first is getting that network cleaned up. And the last thing that we're going to be doing is a wireless upgrade at the high school. High school's coming up on 5 years old. The access points are starting to age out with how many more devices we're having in the building. And as more stuff goes wireless and less desktops and wired connections, it's due for a refresh. It's due for some upgraded access points. The actual networking's good, just the endpoints need to be upgraded. That's all I have on my roadmap for coming up. Any questions, I guess?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had one, Stephen, just because Don and I are going to be starting with the budget subcommittee. So can you put all of your
Yes, it's in a
projects-
spreadsheet with numbers that went to Michelle, and she's going to
The
talk to you
backup-
about it.
The backup also about, how it's going to be advantageous or essential and that kind of thing,
Yeah,
so that us that aren't as technology savvy can speak to it.
yeah, definitely.
That would be great, thank you.
And I think the town's first capital planning meeting internally is next week, so,
Yeah.
and I know Michelle is invited to that. so-
Yep.
So it's good if she's.
Yeah, I've been talking with her about it. We've been working on a budget to put actual numbers on all these plans.
Yep, we work on budget all year round.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when we have our tri-board meetings, we can also push for, some of this might qualify for PEG money,
Exactly.
so you never know.
You never know.
PEG money, the cable company money.
Yeah.
It's very good.
That's
We can
right.
do it. Awesome.
All right.
Great, thank you
Thank you.
very,
Yep,
very much. Thanks
thanks.
for your hard work.
School committee goals is next on the list. Justin asked in his absence if we could get as far as a draft to finalize at our next meeting. With Justin and Bethlyn out, I think we'll do what we can, and then it's good to know we'll have a follow-up meeting on it, so.
Yeah.
Dr. Girardi, did you have anything to say about this in terms of an introduction? Or are you sort of following our lead on this, or?
I think I'm following your lead. I had shared with you my notes from the last meeting
Yep.
that when I took all of, everybody's thoughts, it seemed like there were 3 major categories. One was academic achievement, one was communication, and the other one was marketing. And so those are the three big areas that I saw, but you may have other things that you want to share. And I think I'd shared, my notes from the last time we had this conversation.
I'm not sure if this is politically correct to say, that would stop me in the past. I was disappointed to hear that one or more of the personnel at the schools thinks that we're changing too fast. I feel like we can't change fast enough. And going along the line of the energy bus, get on and join us, or go find someplace else to work.
Well, I think
That's
the
sort of
important
my
thing is, too,
attitude.
is that I think a lot of our teachers are very reflective, and these are goals that have been embedded, so it's not change for change's sake. It's kind of like changing what we're already doing. It's not like we're changing new things. Those have been on our goal list. It's just, we really need to focus on these things now. They're just so important, as we discussed at the last meeting. So,
And it's all about the kids, and, we have so much good staff that have really taken on some significant programs themselves, which speak to a lot of what's in place now. So it's not top-down, it's basically starting from the staff and working up because of their passion. So I really commend them, and I guess I'm just thinking that, it's all about the kids, and, 1 year lost is significant in their education. So again, we can't change. As far as I'm concerned, thoughtful change, we cannot do fast enough. And it is driven by parents also, by the concerns of parents that we produce students that are going to be competitive no matter where they go. So,
I have a follow-up on that, because that brings up sort of a topic that I've wanted to bring up, but I wasn't sure when and what the right way to talk about it would be, but just sort of what's in my stream of consciousness. So I get it, change is hard, and I very much respect that. I think one thing we could do, and this is just my personal opinion, is that we shouldn't overreact, right? So let's say, and I think we've all done it, one parent grabs you in the coffee line, and they can't find something, and the world is ending. So in addition to not being politically correct, I think one way I try to support the staff, which isn't obvious, is I'm like, yeah, it's been a really busy summer. Your kid's okay. Granted, I'm assuming that, but I think part of it is and this is my personal belief, we need way more resiliency as adults and children, and the children feed off of us. So what I'm trying to be better at, and I was terrible when I was a selectman, is not overreacting, right? Just take the comments, they're all fair, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but we know how hard Jen is doing 2 jobs right now. We just heard what Stephen's been working with his staff and how much progress in a short period of time. So I do feel yep, I get it, and I'm sure the people on the ground, the teachers, the paras here, the secretaries, I get it. It's a lot in one summer, and it's needed, and it's been talked about for a long time. So the rollout was quick, but it's stuff we've known we needed. But I think the key is just we have to stand up for everyone. Number one, we're here for the kids. I couldn't agree more with that statement. And yeah, I completely support our teachers. They've got new things to learn, especially this year. But I think, to be honest, we just can't freak out. When I hear some things on Facebook, I just don't care anymore. It's important, but really, when people come here and tell us, and more importantly, contact the right person, I take that way more seriously. So I think it's not necessarily what you were getting at, but I feel like we are really all in this together. And it's just such a more positive atmosphere this year. No one's going to say it's perfect here, and it's not perfect in Acton or, the free school in Sudbury or wherever it is. Just, I don't know, the negativity, I think, gets to us.
I
guess
love
my point is, I want to be supportive to everyone. It is a lot of it is needed. And I think the best thing we can do is, I've been saying to people, I hope we kind of take a breath this year, because we're still rolling stuff out, and it all goes towards communication, marketing, and academic achievement, which I think are great over goals. And I want you to feel comfortable between now and when we sign off on the goals, that you understand what you're being held accountable
Sure.
for your whole team. But overall, it needs to be more positive. We've got great teachers.
Well,
and we will be supportive.
and I like the
Let's not
fact you
forget.
used the phrase "all in this together." That was our theme for the opening day.
Oh, okay.
And the teachers have been, especially the 2 buildings that don't have a lot of air conditioning, or some have none, or very little.
Right.
It's been a hard couple of weeks for everybody, but our teachers have been great, especially working through the heat. So I commend, everybody has been working together, and it has been positive. That's the good news. So we just got to keep that positivity rolling, the energy bus.
There's gonna be things, and there's always individual cases.
There's always going to be something to fix.
But the role of the school committee is much bigger picture. You know what I mean? Like and maybe this is just my natural way, but like I'm a systems person, and we can do our best to support good systems and good overarching goals. But when it comes to individual cases, like I think the best help I've ever provided is just getting that person to talk to the right person. Because I'm not your person, but I'm happy to connect you.
Right.
And make sure that you're taken seriously and that's part of what I love about going to school in Maynard for my kid. Like I know that Bob will talk to a parent, and I know that doesn't happen in other towns. I'll stop naming them on camera. But you know what I mean? Like that is one good thing. It's not gonna always work out to everyone's satisfaction, but that's the benefit of Maynard. We're small, we're hoping the kids don't get lost in the cracks. I think we knocked that out of the park. But yeah, I think we can be supportive, and hear them, and realize, but we still have to march the system forward for the kids. You know, to what we hear from AJ and Pat, you know, grades are important, next steps in their lives, you know, that's kind of like what I'm trying to dial back to, like what our big picture is. So that's just me. Thanks for listening.
Any other thoughts?
So what do we think about what Colin put together on paper here? So the first one, communication. You know, Bob, I guess since we don't have two members here, you know, maybe the way to sort of, you know, do you feel overall that you understand how to have a successful year in communication with you, and especially the three principals who report to you now?
Yes.
How you see your organizational structure?
So the nice thing about the beginning of the school year is we've actually seen some success. You know, we've gotten some ideas. There's some things that people haven't realized that we've already kind of changed. You know, one of the parents that we had at our June or July meeting suggested that we have some kind of process where parents could get acknowledgement when they make a phone call. So we actually created phone lines for parents to call in, and it's in the handbook, but it hasn't been widely disseminated yet, so people aren't really using them. But it's a way for, I'm sorry, not phone lines, emails.
Right.
So that parents will get an instant acknowledgement, and the principals of Eleanor will be looking at that email separately, so that we're making sure that we get to parent emails, that they don't get lost in the cracks. There's a lot of little things that we're learning in the beginning of the next couple of weeks. The website has been incredible, and I know that some principals still need a little more work, but some principals are really buying into doing, in fact, that's what I was working on just before the school committee, was my next news feed. I can't wait to talk about Jazzy Jasmine and Principal Costello and a picture of them. And there's so many things I want to report, so many more things. So we're getting excited about it, and I see that some of the things we put in place are going to help us with that communication piece. And also, I know that Jennifer's working with the task force, and there's still a major piece coming out there. So I think that's going to be a huge piece for us to roll out when it's ready as part of the communication. So I think those are three major areas under communication where I already start to see blossoming improvement. And I think those are some of the ideas that came from the audience, some of the ideas that have come from school committee members on how to fix communication. And of course, I'm always open to other ideas too. And you know, just because we set these goals, if a school committee member says, hey, you know, I had this idea, Bob, you could do this better. You know, I think actually, Maro, you had the idea about the coffees, right? You came in, you talked to, I think, Carol, and then that idea, I said, oh, Stephen, why don't we do that? So some of these ideas that you've suggested are blossoming, and I'm pretty excited about that. And I think those are like 4 examples of how I see us improving communication, and I'm open to more. But those are a good start, I think, under that category.
So I guess my question overall is there, I mean, if you look at how many items there are for communication, for instance, because that is the biggest one, should we pick like the top 4 or 5 for you for this year? Maybe we as a group decide, because there are a lot of items that, not that you're in charge of all of them, but you'll be overseeing them. So would that be helpful to you?
Sure.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'm just throwing that out.
Yeah,
don't
no,
know
I mean, we
if
definitely
that-
need to figure out a way
Right.
forward with such a long list.
Right.
And one thing that strikes me, and I can't pick it out of this list, is some of it is policy subcommittee work, for example. So anytime I see create protocols, and I could be wrong, and maybe it's an administrative protocol, because I can't pull it out of here. Protocols and timelines for notifying staff in relation to budget issues. Yeah, and I guess my point is,
Those can be done in the policy subcommittees with policy work and administrative regulation work.
right,
That's a good point.
and I think if we agree, I mean, I think at some point we sort of also need to make sure we're not giving you a list that you can't complete. I mean, I didn't really judge the list on its whole entirety. You probably understand it more just because you're the, you and your team do it. But, we want achievable goals. So when it comes to the prioritization,
The other thing is, in the past, we've done 2-year goals. So I think if you prioritize in order,
right,
we work on the top ones, but we know that we're going to get somewhere in the middle, right? And then we can reassess how we did at, in the middle of the year and at the end of the year on where we are and how far we're getting on a 2-year goal. But that gives us time to prioritize. I think the key piece is for you to prioritize what's most important.
okay.
Exactly.
Let us, but if we make it a 2-year goal, because I know we do that for our staff, and we do it, 2-year goals give you the opportunity to really make sure you get everything done over time. Because some things do take extra time, too.
And some of them will be the low-hanging fruit, so to speak.
That'll be done quickly, right.
Exactly. So there's communications, marketing, and academic achievement. Do you think the right way to move forward, since 2 of us are missing, is to have a takeaway item where we all sort of, what I could do is to say to all the members of the school committee, everyone individually send me your prioritization, and I could compile it.
Right,
And then
right.
come up with
Right.
it sounds super fun.
Yeah, I know.
But,
Do you think a doodle would work in that way?
I don't know. But I mean, I could just say, all members don't chat amongst yourselves,
Right.
send it back to me, and then do something,
And then create a list.
so if you took communication, actually, I mean, we could go by the whole list, it doesn't really matter. And then just sort of 1 to, 25 it, and then 1 is the most important. And I could set up, I could send out sort of how I would interpret us doing it. And then if everyone sends it back to me at the next meeting, we could, because otherwise we'd have to go through them all in a meeting like this to say what's more important, focus on.
This or that.
So I'm just trying to think of what's the most productive use of
Right.
time
I
as
think
well.
that sounds
Yeah.
like a good idea. Yeah.
Can I just add one more idea to that list?
Of course.
And
Sure.
because I talked about it, that I had been talking with the principals of LNO about the marketing piece. And I was inspired by Principal Costello, because he said, well, it's important to market to the parents, obviously, because, they're our community. He said, but somehow we have to make the kids feel special and make them want to stay and make them appreciate what they have. So that was kind of inspirational to me. And then I was thinking about a conversation I had with our Board of Selectmen member, Justine St. John. She and I are both big fans of the Boy Scouts. And the conversation was, my wife is, by the way, a Girl Scout, and Girl Scouts are awesome, but the Girl Scouts are they're grouped by one age. The nice thing about the Boy Scouts is they're grouped in a big age. The age group is 11 to 17, right? And so what that does by having a multi-age group is it gives the older kids the opportunity to be leaders, but also to care for younger kids. It gives the younger kids a role model to look up to. So I started thinking, the kids who are very successful in school, oftentimes they're involved in multi-age group activities, like the band, right? The band has multi-age groups, or WAVM. They were just talking about having 6th graders working in the same room with a 12th grader, right? Sports, we all know sports. There's one of the major reasons why a lot of very famous people were athletes, because it helps them having these multi-age groups. So one of the things we're looking at is developing opportunities for kids at Fowler to connect with kids at the high school, whether it's through sports, through WAVM, or maybe looking at, at the high school, they have a, a green committee. Well, maybe if Fowler doesn't have a green committee, we have a green committee at Fowler, and then we have a couple of joint meetings so the kids can look up to the kids at the high school. So those are some ideas we're throwing out there as multi-age activities, and most of them we already have in place because we know we have the sports in place, but maybe, the boys soccer team at the Fowler and the boys soccer team at the high school could have a conditioning day together. So they would just have something to aspire to and want to go to the high school and want to make those classes even bigger. So that's one thing I'm throwing out there, that in addition to that, we have some great ideas as far as marketing to the parents. So that's awesome too. But I just wanted to throw that out there as maybe looking at marketing to kids too.
That's great.
What do you think? Is that a
Yeah,
good-
I think that sounds
Is that
like a
a good
good
way to
plan,
move forward?
especially with the communication piece, because there's a lot of items there.
It is.
When it's actually been written down. The other ones are pretty much self-explanatory, but we
And
can do
there's a
it with
couple in there that it's, and I'm not meaning to pick on Bethlehem, but I think one of hers says, can we get more state data from Jen? I don't personally know what that means, and it just makes me think that I'm really cognizant of Jen's workload right now. So I'm not saying I wouldn't support it, but I need it to be a little bit more defined. So when we talk next time, we can also ask questions. So since there's a name attributed to almost every comment, if we need to flesh it out, it'd be easier to do when the five of us are here too. So.
Yeah, I was wondering what I don't remember Justin's comment about the school community
I was wondering that too.
communications.
Yeah, that one, didn't remember.
Yeah,
And
Was it
there's
school
one from me
committee
that
communication,
said-
did you say?
yeah, school community communications to tell more of the story than just what happens at business.
So I think he was talking about having, and we were talking about how to have the school committee have a social media presence within the Maynard Public Schools.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's what he was talking
Okay.
about, and,
I didn't remember that.
and I know that's on Stephen's radar, so he's trying to figure out how to make all that work.
Okay.
Great.
And I will say, in your favor, this list isn't all you're gonna get done. Like, this is just what we're gonna judge you on. But then you also do all the other stuff in the principals and the staff. And
Yeah.
just like this is great, so you'll know what's expected.
Yep.
And what we think as a community is important. But we also know that you always over-deliver, so.
Well, in like the first week of the school, we're all trying to help each other, teachers and administrators on the heat.
Exactly.
We're all trying to share classrooms. I can't tell you how many teachers have helped each other out by sharing classrooms when they're not, there's a lot more that goes on in school than, these are very important goals. And it's a lot of times the fire or the heat that we have to put out that people, don't realize that it's a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy and we work, but we're all together. It's been a very positive start. I'm really excited.
So when you do a live news update,
Yep,
does it connect to the public, the district Facebook page?
yes,
Cool. Awesome.
yeah. Stephen's been helping me, but yes.
That's fine. That's fine.
And there's ways to shoot it out to everything. So,
Amazing.
Anything else on this?
I think that's it.
Okay, so I will send up a sort of wrap-up email to the whole group, and hopefully we'll all have time and we can finalize this on the 20th. So, time for citizens' comments. Anyone who'd like to speak, just step up, we just need your name and your comment. Come on up.
Hi,
Hi.
hope that works. I'm Melissa Sanders. So I'm just wondering, you guys, a big push has been on communication, but I have a fourth grader and I have a kindergartner. And with all due respect, Don, I mean, your feedback on how the year has gone is anecdotal. My anecdotal would be completely different. So have you guys thought about doing like a pulse survey or something to the parents just to say like, hey, how do you feel communication's going? How do you feel? Because no offense, I mean, I hear a lot from Dan. I hear nothing from Green Meadow. So, I mean, I applaud the effort to have more communication, but I'm just wondering if you're actually hitting the type of communication we actually want.
sure.
And so my gut would be to just kind of take a quick
survey.
poll. And I mean, I get it. People are going to give you the bad comments because everybody likes to say the bad before they say the good.
fine.
But otherwise, you're going to build something that nobody's going to use.
Yep,
And you're spending a lot of money and a lot of time when we may just need something a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, I think
So.
the bones of it are really helpful. It's gonna be made much easier. But I said at various meetings, sometimes much more harshly than I probably should have. If the message still stinks or is unclear, I don't care how fast the parents get it.
Exactly.
So just to be honest, like that's something I've thought about as well. And I think us focusing on it, it might not be obvious, but we've said in prior meetings that the messages need to be very clear, very timely. So when you see us focusing on it, we're definitely, our plan, as it has been, but to keep going and keep increasing, is to hold Dr. Girardi and his people accountable for good communication.
And
So
that I
so
completely,
that's, no, I'm sorry,
I-
I was going too long.
no, but I mean, I completely understand that. My piece is that you know, you have a handful of people up there. You know, Justin has a couple kids, Beth has a couple kids, Mauro, you, Dawn. There's a handful of people when there's a whole other group. So maybe that level of communication or that type of communication works for the board, but it may not work for the other 1,000 kids that are in the system whose parents are trying to manage 4 emails, 2 blog posts, you know, a Facebook flag. Like, sometimes there's a little bit oversaturation. It might not be what I'm actually
Absolutely.
looking for.
Yeah.
I might be looking for my kid's teacher, not necessarily that Tyler's delayed being rolled out. So, so I totally understand what you're trying to do. I'm just wondering if there's a better way to do it.
I think
the kids from the schools, like when they tell us stuff,
Mhm.
that's how we hear about it, right? So
Yep.
anytime anyone emails us or comes and speaks here, you know, the purpose of citizens' comments is for us to say, thank you, and then to say like, all right, what did we hear from that, right? So sometimes we'll say, Bob, take it and run with it, or maybe it's Colleen, or it's Stephen, or it's whoever, but we'll get that information to the right people, so that you're doing exactly what you should be doing. Tell us
Yeah.
what you think, that's
I
what
mean,
we're here for, so we appreciate
Even
it.
if it's like a anonymous survey monkey that just says, hey, quick question. You guys are sending us 4 or 5 emails a week anyway.
Yeah.
One more won't kill us
Right.
at this point.
Yeah,
Not a
it'll
problem.
always be that, like, you know, are we doing too much or not enough? And I think we'll always have people who say one or the other. So we're gonna try to communicate succinctly, timely, important things. Like, I don't think, like, this is totally an aside, I hope you don't mind.
No.
But I don't think we need to keep sending these emails when the police come. No. Like, we're gonna send out an email that says, the police come to campus from time to time to deal with injuries or illness. We're never gonna tell you what happened because it's privacy, so just know that that happens sometimes. So we don't need people freaking out. That's my thing with like the freaking out. So like, for example, I think that's a completely, we tried last year as a pilot. Let's tell everyone when the cars roll up, because it's a small town and they panic. And I don't think it's worked. So my feedback personally, as one member of a 5-member board to Dr. Girardi and his staff is, I don't really think we're getting much out of that, except people are nervous for no reason. Like, we have bee stings, we have broken arms, we have headbutts, we have a whole host of reasons. So anyway, I think I'm supporting your point of, that's just too much.
Overkill. So
Yeah,
we'll survey.
But I mean, I would just ask the parents, exactly,
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
if you're gonna be judged on your communication skills by the board,
Yep.
then you should
Right.
know that whether you're doing it or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what
No,
we're
I
here for,
appreciate
so
that. That's good advice.
Thank you.
I have just 2 things. First thing is, so Monday and Tuesday are Jewish holidays, and I know that we don't have them off, but is there a way to let teachers know that if it's possible not to schedule quizzes or tests? Because my daughter is in 9th grade and she has 2 quizzes on Monday.
She was not supposed to. We will make
So,
sure that message gets to the teacher. We
that
talked
would be
about
great.
that when we did this, so thank you.
And then secondly, there was a plan to roll out world language to all the grades from kindergarten through 12th. My daughter's in 5th grade and doesn't have it, but she's also lost music. So I don't know if that's what the plan is for that, because it was announced that Spanish, or world language is going to be, but they have it in 3rd grade. So what are they going to do when they come to 4th or 5th or?
So I believe when we discussed it at the school committee, it was a couple of year rollout. So right
Okay.
now, I believe 4th and 5th doesn't
Which
have
is
it, but
fine.
by next year, everybody will have it.
Well, what
So-
about specials like music? Is that just not going to happen for her this year?
There was certain specials that were, everybody got, and then there was other specials that were going to be elective. So I don't know if music fell under the elective or if that was one of the major ones.
What grade is it? Fifth?
5th.
I think the best thing to do is talk to your principal and find out for sure.
Okay,
All right?
sure, thanks.
And if you don't hear from them, let us know.
I sent an
And-
email, but I didn't hear back, but I know it's the beginning of the year, so
Yeah,
it's easy.
but if you don't hear back in what you think is a reasonable time, because I think you're a reasonable
Yeah,
person.
sorry.
And I
You know
do,
where to go.
and I do want to report to you that Principal Caruso did send an email at the high school, so we can follow up, I can follow up with him, but he did send an email saying, please, and I think the other buildings, the principals followed, but he was the first one, to say to the teachers, hey, it's a Jewish holiday, some of our staff and students aren't going to be here, so let's make sure we don't provide anything, or give them extra time to do it or something. So I'll double check with him and find out why that is.
That's, I mean, make-upping work is fine, but
Yeah.
a quiz or test just makes it more
Thank you.
Yeah, quiz or test, that's, yeah,
That
I'll-
was our intent in the very beginning, so that's good
Thanks.
feedback.
Okay, so she just got an email from Mrs. Murphy saying that there was a quiz. So, perfect, thanks.
thank you. I'll look into that.
Hey there. Just one question, we're talking about academic achievements and all the goals. Do any of you have anything on your radar in regards to teacher retention rates? I was just looking at the state Department of Education, and we're definitely in the much lower end. We're at about 72% for teacher retention compared to some other districts that are in, that 80, 95%. So when we're talking about, kind of get on board with goals or get out, like what are our goals around keeping the fabulous teachers that we have in district?
We've never
And if
talked
that
about
could
it
be,
as a board, so we'd probably have to put it on another agenda and talk about it, so it's, it's something that hasn't come up in my memory, but my memory's not always the best, just to be honest. But
Okay.
yeah, I'll tell Justin that that's something that.
yeah,
people would
I'll
consider.
definitely, I can share the link with you too from the Department
I've
of
seen it,
Education.
yeah. No,
Okay,
I
all
looked
right,
at it as recent as last week.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. But yeah, I don't think we've talked about it, especially with new board members.
Okay.
In the last year or so.
And then just tied to that, how are the goals shared with staff and teachers and whatnot? Like, are they
It's a public
discussed
document.
annually? But I mean, is there like a blast email? How do you get teachers on board? How do you get buy-in from the teachers and staff in
That's a good
regards to all the goals?
question For the CEO over here.
So,
if that's right term.
actually, the principals have already talked generally about the conversations we've had so far in the big 3 areas, and the principals will do that during faculty meetings.
Okay, and they do it each faculty meeting or just once a year? I'm just curious.
I think at the beginning of the year, they'll do the goals, but they also set their agendas to try and achieve the goals, too.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, I imagine once we settle, it'll.
Okay.
I imagine that's how it happens, but I don't work there, so it's hard to say. But
All right.
that's how it happens.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Justin. Members' comments and questions, Mara? It's not required, just didn't mean to throw you on the
No,
spot
it's
there.
okay. I know that all of my kids had great first week, which is fantastic. So, everybody, 2 of my kids settling into new schools. So, and, going to the lunch today was really fun to see all the kids and what is her name? Jazzy Jasmine?
Yeah.
So, I know that my middle son is pretty excited about the fun run,
Good.
so.
When is the fun run actually going to take place, in case we wanted to go?
I believe it's the 13th.
Yeah, I think it's next week.
I'll forward you my school email.
That would be
Yeah.
great.
I'm actually going to do a little bit of an announcement, too, and a link so people can go and learn a little bit more about it,
Oh,
too.
great.
Yeah.
So that's it, that's all I got for
That's
this.
fine. That's okay.
That's great.
It's the beginning of the year, there isn't any. Merit.
So I wanted to commend Dan on sending out non-negotiable expectations for all students. I was really impressed with this list that he sent out. I think it's really black and white, and it really sets a tone at the very beginning. So if you could just pass that on to him, I would greatly appreciate it.
Will do.
And I wanted to get a sense, did we take in any exchange students this year?
I think we might have one, but I'm not certain. 2? Oh, we're up to 2, okay, good.
Do we know where they came from?
One was Brazil.
Brazilian.
I'm not sure where the other one was from.
Okay, excellent, excellent. What grade
Yeah.
levels? Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
They're usually seniors now.
Okay.
We decided not to do freshman or sophomore. I think it's
Okay.
more appropriate to do a junior or a senior.
Excellent. And how did we attract them? Through the same company that we?
Yeah, we have
picked
3
them?
companies, actually.
Okay.
It's just that the market has slowed down.
Right.
People aren't visiting America, or students aren't coming to America as much as they used to.
All right. But that's that's great. Two
Yeah.
is good, so.
2 is a good start.
And I had mentioned to you, Bob, and I just wanted to reiterate, because I actually received this from Dawn. I had asked if all of us could receive all the notifications that go from the school to
Right,
parents at
yeah.
all different schools, because of course I don't get any of them. Well, no, I get Chuck's, so I do get the high school, but yeah, that would be great if we could all
Okay.
put on, as well as yours, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were sort of like some good.
We need to get you on the listserv.
Right.
We need to get you on the listserv because other school committee members are getting the information
Right.
through their
Specific to where
school
the kids
listserv.
are. Right, exactly.
But you'd like to get them for all,
Well, and I
so,
think all of us need them
And I
for
think all
all.
of us,
Yeah.
because that's a
Right.
way for us to judge how
Right.
the focus on communication is actually working out.
Yes.
And I think we
Right.
have to sort of,
Yeah,
And to
'cause
see
I
if it's
wasn't
overkill.
sure- I wasn't sure about the.
and to see if it's overkill, right? If you're seeing it
yeah,
from all
both
four.
sides of it, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't sure whether or not because now I have a fourth grader and I don't have anybody at Green Meadow, whether or not that's why I wasn't getting
No,
anything or.
that's, yeah. It may be. So we have to look at getting all of you on the listserv.
Yeah, so if we could, yeah, I'd prefer to receive it
be-
before I get stopped by a parent saying, what about this?
Yeah.
So, and then, let's see, the other piece was we'd received a notification from the town administrator about the Powder Mill Place project.
Yeah.
Was has anybody reached out to ask what kind of impact it's going to have on our student body? Do we have a
Yeah,
report?
so I actually gave them some feedback. They had asked me, so that,
They being the selectmen?
actually, the town administrator hired a company to do a study. The study had some results, and generally they use ratios and formulas, and it usually comes out to something small like 15 kids. But to the town administrator's credit, he also did a long-term study and said, well, over the next, if a lot of projects happen, which they can kind of predict that there might be a few big projects, it may have an impact of 78 kids over the course of, I forget whether it was 5 years or whatever. And so they had asked me for my input, which I shared with them. And they asked me to come to that meeting, so if people have questions about my input, I could share that. Of course, he invited everybody else, but because I had provided that data, he had asked me to come.
Excellent.
Yeah, so, it'll be an interesting conversation. The town has to decide which project, because it's nice that they're long-term planning. I got to give the town credit.
And we have 129 Parker Street, we also
Yeah.
have Mill and Main that
Yeah.
could potentially, yes.
So I really thought they did a good job. I think it was Andrew who put the data together, Andrew Scribner McLean, before our town administrator came on. But then our town administrator actually came and visited me and said, can you explain to me this data? Which I thought was really thoughtful on his part as well. So the communication has been great with the town. Yeah.
Can we get that information too? If
Yeah.
we
I
have
have
that,
an
we
email,
could-
I was just looking, because it's ringing a bell, but I don't know if it's tomorrow.
If not, I can make sure
That'd be
I can,
great. I'd appreciate
I
it
can
so
send
we
that to you.
speak to
Sure.
also. And I don't know how many school committee members are going to be planning to go. I know myself, but I don't know if we need to post it.
No, that's more casual.
Is
That's okay.
that, so it's okay?
Okay.
Yeah, because
To
we're
do
not going to be
that?
speaking
Okay.
Yeah.
all right.
and deliberating, so
Right,
it's okay.
okay. Oh, and the other thing, I wanted to ask, and not immediately, because I know Colleen both Colleens are stressed, but Colleen Andrade, I'd really like to get the budget broken down by the sports.
Okay.
It seems like some sports receive good chunk of money, and other sports, as in the field hockey, is it, that the parents had to come up with money?
Or
Which one
cross-country,
is
because it was
the
new.
cross-country?
Yeah, they've been volunteering to come up with money.
Not right, it's not right. So I'd really, if we could get by
Sure.
sport, what is being spent or what's budgeted, that would be, I'd appreciate that.
So I know Kevin has done that for us a few years ago, so
Okay.
we'll have him update that for us.
Okay, that sounds great, I appreciate that. That's it.
Let's see, I was gonna mention the Powder Mill Place, if people wanna go, it's gonna be, the 17th, which I think is a Monday.
Yeah,
7:30 at the high school, so the town is talking about, a developer who wants to build, apartments straddling the Maynard and Acton line down by, where they're putting the pot factory. So, that, part of it will be on our land. There's a lot for the selectmen to think about, and in that light, they're having a public meeting of some sort. And they anticipate it being big enough that they asked to use the high school, which I thought was
Yeah.
a great use of space.
yep.
So that is the 17th at 7:30 at the high school. And other than that, I was just gonna mention that we'll be starting up our budget meetings with the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen. They've selected their members. And so that'll be getting started. So we've started to put a few requests over to Michelle. She's been great. Carol as well. So we should have some information in time for that. And Mary and I will continue to report back and keep everyone on the same page as we head into yet another budget season.
So important.
Yeah, it worked well last year, so I think we're on a good roll.
It did,
The-
yeah.
Just the communication again is huge.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.